Okay, today we've got Cookie Green from Stuttering to Confidence. I'm Larry Stein, Stein on Stuttering. And Cookie, I think, has a very good question. Go ahead.
I do. Today, I want to talk about coming out of a comfort zone. Um, I know that that you have done a lot of things, but I want you to kind of tell us about how you were able to come out of your comfort zone and start doing things in a progressive. Tell me your story about coming out of your comfort zone.
Okay, all right. So when we see on the internet, we see break out of your comfort zone, break your comfort zone. Well, that's great for business people, great for athletes, great for, building a new business and all that. But for me,
Right.
as a person who had stuttered at that point for 50 years, I was not able to break out of my comfort zone and all that stuff. I had to go slowly. So I went one small step at a time, and I mean small. So my comfort zone, because I had tried that stuff for
Yeah.
years.
Uh-huh.
Break out of your comfort zone. Talk to 1,000 people. Stand on a street corner and say, I stutter and I love it. And introduce, oh, what do you think about people who stutter? We see that on the internet all the time, right?
Right.
Now, I couldn't do that. I was a pretty severe stutterer, and there was no way I was going to do that at all. And anytime I tried to go big out of my comfort zone, I went right back to square one. So,
okay, this is good stuff.
So this is not what you expected, but this is what I did, because I was fragile. I'm a big guy. If you ever met me, you'd think, oh, he's a pretty big guy. What is he scared about? He's a football player and all that stuff. Scared to death. Okay, scared to death. I knew I was fragile, and I built some confidence by this time. Practicing, relearning to speak in the privacy of my own room, and trying it out and little things. But so here's what I did. I went from easiest to hardest. This was a 2-year process, a year and a half or so, of going from the easiest thing. For me, the easiest thing was to talk with my wife. So that was the easiest thing. Now, I was probably not going to stutter that much with her anyways, except if we had an argument, then I'd really stutter. But just in regular talking. So when people hear me say that I began, trying to speak, BEP, let's say, breathe, emphasize, phrase. That was just a very quick moment on that. That was simply me mimicking professional speakers. I invented nothing. That's just me mimicking professional speakers. They usually breathe before they speak. They emphasize a word somewhere in the phrase, usually toward the end, so that you remember it. And then they end the phrase. They speak phrase to phrase to phrase. Very compelling. For me, for them, emphasizing a word makes it compelling. For me, I realized it cleared out my breath. And then I also realized I had to be expressive. So I could do that in privacy of my own home. I could do that with my wife to start with. And but I didn't skip that. I just went in very small steps. So I knew I could speak comfortably with my wife without speaking in phrases, without BEP, but I wanted to learn a skill. This was a skill I felt my way out was to make this automatic. This is the only way that I would ever speak. And that's how it is now. Okay, but I had to learn. It's just like learning any other skill. I had to learn this, and even under pressure. So I did it with my wife first, then my kids, and then with close friends. And then, moving with more friends and all that. At the very top of my hierarchy, I called it a hierarchy. You can look at it almost at the rungs of a ladder, was to say my name. Could I introduce myself? And I thought that would be an important thing.
Right, good start.
And so, but I had a long way to go with that. And so I built this hierarchy going from small steps to small step. So what I realized was that because I was going in such small steps and not moving on to the next step until I gained the confidence that I could do that, not only was I learning the skill of speaking, but I was also gaining a little bit of confidence each time. These small successes, I was stacking one small success after another, and I was gaining what I call true confidence, confidence that lasts, rather than my whole life thinking, oh, I had good speech today. Maybe I am over this. I think I can do this. And then I maybe would go on for another day, and then I'd fall flat on my face.
Right.
This was true confidence because I was proving it one small step at a time. And by the time I got to the highest rung, for me at least, I thought, was to introduce myself in a real business setting type thing. For that, I actually created a separate hierarchy. So in other words, to say my name, that was a multi-month project. This was not I'm going to say my name and boom, I'm in.
Right, and it just happens. Yeah.
It took months. Nothing of this was easy. Everyone thinks, oh, I can just do this in a snap. Nothing, for me at least, was easy. So it took me months to go through a separate hierarchy just to say my name. And I just went, so the easiest thing was for me to, if there was a little kid around, I'd introduce myself. They don't care what my name is.
Right.
I'll never see them, but I'd introduce myself. If I saw a really old person, who probably couldn't even hear me, I'd introduce myself. I would call, this is the examples I use, I would call hardware stores and I'd introduce myself and then ask for a hammer. Of course they have a hammer and they could care less what my name is. They just want me to get in the store and sell a hammer. So, and I would call hotels. I would call a 2,000 room hotel. You have a room. Of course they have a room, but I'd introduce myself first. And so they could care less. And all these easy introductions, easy. And then to actually say my name, to actually do it, that was a whole big project too. That was over a 3-week period that I finally thought I was ready. And when I was going to do it, I found a little old lady, and you know what? I had to do all kinds of stuff. That could be another call, or we can do it now. Anyway, so it was all in small steps, stacking one small success after another over a 2-year period, and leading up to say my name. And the key with saying my name was I was finally able to be in any speaking circumstance, social circumstance, business circumstance. There was nothing I had to hide anymore. And so I for the first time, I felt free. So that's my thing about comfort zones, is that, it sounds great. Boy, you must have just gone out and done public speaking right away. And no, everything was a very small step, a lot of work over a lot of hard time. So.
But once you found that you could introduce yourself, everything else was basically easier. Or would you agree?
I had gone through so much.
Yeah.
I had gone through it. I don't know how many situations, up and up and up my ladder. But once I was able to introduce myself, then it's like everything came easier. And but I still had to work through some stuff. I still had to work through, speaking in large groups where everyone's talking fast. And even still, that sometimes throws me. I still had to work through, like, if someone surprised me and I was, for example, with my sister, and someone would surprise me, I'd run into someone and I'd want to introduce my sister. I would hurry through that, and then I'd have trouble. So I mean, there were things I still had to work on after being able to say my name. But that was really, after that point, then I was really on my way. And even still, I just keep on working through things in small steps.
Yeah, because you worked through a lot, because now your speech is pretty smooth, and sometimes it boggles my mind when I say, he used to stutter to the point of being very shy of speaking until you were in your 50s. So that's why I wanted to know, how did you get past that? It's good. Once you can get out there and introduce yourself, more things, things are more easier after that. But that's what I wanted to know. Yeah, is how to do that.
Yeah, but honestly, I don't think I could have just gone, oh, I'm gonna learn how to introduce myself. I had to go through all these things. I had to relearn to speak. I had to go through the psychological stuff. I had to go through those small steps, beginning, speaking with my wife, then kids, close friends, distant friends, business stuff, and all that.
So building that confidence level. Yeah.
That was the key for me. And, I learned later that again, I just happened to luck into this. That's actually called exposure therapy. That's actually called exposure therapy, going, one step at a time. It's just, I did it in really small steps. And so by doing it in small steps, I had fewer
But anyway,
setbacks,
well,
Oh,
but anyway, thank you for that question. Yeah, because I've always wondered, because for myself, when I became a supervisor, I said, just jump off the cliff and see if you can fly, come out of that comfort zone. So I just kind of wonder, how did you do that? Because you speak, you're pretty smooth, but I just can't wait till next time till I come up with another good question for you. I love picking your brain.
I enjoy this so much. So it's been great talking with you. And it'll be interesting if, people see this and they're going, nah, you really don't have to do all that work. There are easier ways to do this. And there might be,
Right.
but this was the only way forward for me. I was pretty severe stutter. In fact, I couldn't even read by myself. That's how I couldn't talk if I were just by myself. That's how severe I was. But over the years, my speech did improve once I was in my 30s and I was in the business world, and 40s in the business world. So my speech improved then quite a bit. It's just that I had a long way to go.
Right.
Even after that. But anyways, this has been fun. Thanks again, Cookie. You're great. And we'll hopefully do it again next week.
Next week.
All right.
Wait.
Take care. Bye-bye.